The smartest person in the room isn't the one with the most knowledge or the one with the most wisdom. It's the one with the most curiosity. Because sometimes the limitations are the limitations that you set for yourself. As immigrants, we have to remember is that we have insane imposter syndrome. In any room that we walk into, we feel like we don't belong.
Welcome to Talent Freaks. Today we're joined by the powerhouse producer and filmmaker, Soukaina Alaoui El Hassani. Straight from the creative trenches of New York City, born in Casablanca, Morocco, Soukaina turned childhood rituals, like sword fighting her grandfather with kitchen skewers, and devouring bootleg sci-fi shows, into a career producing high-stakes campaigns for brands like Audible, Netflix, and PepsiCo at Versus Creative Studio. Her indie credits include the award-winning short, Fix, where she snagged Best Producer, and the poignant documentary, Children of Sin, spotlighting unwed mothers in Morocco. From immigrant hustle at Fordham and NYU to battling imposter syndrome with sheer curiosity, she embodies the grit of telling authentic stories as an Arab Muslim woman in film. But before we jump in, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll catch more stories from the front lines of creativity. All right, let's meet the one and only Soukaina Alaoui El Hassani. Welcome, Soukaina, to Talent Freaks podcast. I'm so excited that you reached out and wanted to be on this podcast. So one of the things that really intrigued me is your journey coming from Casablanca, Morocco, all the way to America and in your college career. And you stayed and you're doing some really amazing things in the film industry. What I'd like to kind of dive into first is your upbringing over at Casablanca, and how's that different from over here?
In terms of, so to start from the start, I was always kind of like very audiovisual oriented and narrative oriented. Storytelling was a little bit always kind of entrenched in me. I was writing like short stories, books, but like for me, I mean, there was like the Lenara Chronicles growing up that I wrote when I was like between the ages of like pretty sure like 10 and 14. I was writing this chronicle called the Lenara Chronicles, and then there was Hell Girl too. And so I was very, very like into narrative and storytelling. And then I got super into audiovisual because the way that I learned English wasn't just from school, but it was from movies and TV shows and film, like all these different kind of mediums that I was ingesting. And it was mostly that is how I fell in love with like film and TV, was that it was felt like a learning opportunity, not only just like linguistically, but even like understanding the human condition. And it was really cool because that also informed storytelling and narrative. And even in my projects growing up, I would ask my teachers if I could create an audiovisual presentation in the form of like a film or a performance or something. And it was always narrative based. And they would entertain me and at times even like kind of like make that a part of their curriculum, which was really fun and encouraging. And then I graduated from high school at Casablanca American School, and then I came to New York to do undergrad at Fordham University. And I really was able to kind of like just hone in to like, I would say more theoretical and like more like all of the like cerebral and intellectual aspects of filmmaking were more from my Fordham years. And then
Mm,
after that I did grad school at NYU, which was more in terms of learning execution. But the cool thing is that while I was at Fordham, I started making films on the side, and that was amazing. I started to like kind of pick up a camera or produce like a thing with my friends or create stories that were audiovisual, and I was having fun doing it, and the more I did it the less scared I was. And then when I got to NYU, you kind of like are imbued with that security to do more, to
mm,
tell more, and to tell more, not to just not tell the story, but to even tell the story responsibly,
mm.
which like I think was something that was very, very important to my professors and my mentors at NYU. It's that it's important to get to make sure that you're telling the story the right way, in the way that feels the best for you, and even questioning yourself and figuring out whether or not you are the right person to tell the story. In terms of differences between like how it was here versus how it was back home, I think it's just the accessibility, the even the like community. Back when I was in high school, it was difficult to find film communities. Not that there weren't
Mm.
any, but just the accessibility to them weren't it wasn't very it's really not a thing that a lot of people would create. But then I think today, in today's world, the film community in Morocco has like increased in visibility and accessibility. But back then, there really wasn't that much. And then when I came here, that is what I was looking for. And I was fortunate enough to find that. And I think in terms of the biggest difference, it was that I've always felt empowered to tell my stories in both places. It's just that
Oh, that's great.
in one place encouraged me to um kind of like just put one step in front of the other and figure out what my voice was. And once I came overseas, it was okay, well, you're figuring out your voice, but here are the tools to amplify it. And that
That's
was really
important.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you grew up watching TV and films. What were some of the TV shows? And I want to say this as respectful as possible. What generation are you in?
Well, that's funny you say that because I do think that like when you come from a different country,
Hmm.
you're a little bit one generation behind
True.
when it comes to TV shows and films. For instance, I grew up with Star Trek, Battlestar
Ah,
Galactica,
nice. Oh,
Buffy,
nice.
Angel, Charmed, um all these like Dark Angel, like these kind of like Firefly, like I
That's
know
my
all
favorite.
of those words. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I grew up in that realm, in that kind of like era of TV. In terms of film, like same thing. Like there's OG stuff that more into than the more current stuff, but like for the original Tron and the original Mad Max, like that was the original Dune, even like that was what I grew up with. And it was, and this is, it's kind of like my theory about like when you grow up in a different country and you are kind of like exposed to like other cultures, it's almost like
Hmm.
there's a little bit of like a delay, like a generation of a delay almost in how you ingest culture. Now with the global, with like the development of social media and like the expansion of the global village, I mean, there's less of that. There's significantly less of that kind of like weird contingency, but like now, before then, not now, but like before then, I do think there was a little bit of a lapse. And so like I mean, I hate to say this, but like I would like go, we had like, we didn't really have where to get, films and stuff. We would only be able to go get them to go to the movies or buy them bootleg or like
Hmm.
go on like these bootleg sites and like watch them in like like really, really crappy camcorder quality. And so when you got your hands on those like bootleg CDs, like a black market reseller or whatever, black market is dramatic, but like by like this like, like pirater
I
or
know what you mean
whatever,
by that. Yeah.
that's what I mean. So like it's like it was always a generation behind because they would have to get the DVD release and then copy and burn the DVD onto a new CD and then like kind of, you know what I mean? So it was like it was all there was always a delay in how fast we would ingest things. So there's that lapse, but with technology nowadays, I think that delay is getting less and less. It's kind of like collapsing with the development of technology and the expansion of social media in the global village.
Yeah, and with Netflix and all these different streaming
Mhm.
platforms, I understand distribution is different in every country because you could
Mhm.
take your Netflix with you and go to Europe from, America. And then when you turn it on over there, there's different programs. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, wait a minute, I was watching this. It's not available over here.
Hmm.
So
And it's just
everybody's seeing different things.
yeah, for sure. And that's it's also part of that, right? It's also part of like
Hmm.
censorship rules in different countries or like
Yeah.
different distribution rules in different countries. Like there's just like different requirements. Like there's certain movies that can't play in certain countries, so they're not going to really risk putting it on rosters on streaming services or even in the film in like movie theaters. So it's like kind of have to bootleg it sometimes.
And the reason why I asked you that is because I think when I grew up, I was very influenced with TV. We didn't have all these streaming services and everything else. So we had 13 channels. That's all I had when growing up. So I watched a lot of reruns and syndication. So a lot of Different Strokes, Family Ties, like all the,
Mm,
80s sitcoms that kind of, built my values on, which, I look back at that after years of recovery and therapy and realized I took a lot from TV and tried to kind of incorporate in who I am. And that's
mhm,
not what, people should do. As far as like ideas and things that you see on there, sure. But the reason why I say that is because I was wondering like how it molded your vision and how you saw film and like you said, a way to communicate, a way to express yourself.
mhm,
And I'm so glad you shared your Substack with me because I went into it and it was interesting. I didn't see your name, but I recognized some of the things, and I just want to touch that real quick. Is like how do you tell me about your experience in Substack and how does that make you? What does that do for you when you're writing and expressing yourself like that?
mhm. I mean, making films is a form of poetry. It's just
Mm,
visual poetry, right? Um, I adore subtext, but I also love being literal and finding the balance sometimes between the literal and the subtext is hard. So a lot of my poetry does this thing where, and it's one of the reasons why it's mythic, right? It does this thing where I take this subtext that I feel is this thing that is floating in my feelings, and I try to ground it with structure, with physicality, with
mm,
texture.
okay.
You're it's like this like ghost that you're kind of trying to figure out what the outline of it is. And so in the way that I create this like mythic kind of concept in my writing, it's how my writing, even in my filmmaking, translates. This idea of trusting my audience to see what I mean, and if they cannot see what I mean, they can at least feel it.
Mm,
Like those feelings, you can say I feel sad, right? And yeah, I know what I feel sad feels like, but when you describe that feeling of sadness in a way that feels so intimate and special, and it's almost as if you're acknowledging that part of yourself, like in a way that you're literally telling that part of yourself, I see all of you in that moment, whether you're ailing, whether you're happy, whether you're joyful, whether you're fearful, that I see all of you. It's recognition. And being able to describe it so intimately and succinctly to me is what grounds it.
mm,
It's what allows it to exist, and it's what allows it to not be this thing you are afraid of, but instead this tool that you can use in your work, in your self-improvement, in your reflection, in your self-awareness.
mm,
It's embracing the parts of you that are hard to love.
mm.
And
Yeah.
that's what
That's-
I try to do with my writing, but also allow it to exist however it wants to come out.
I mean, I'm very impressed, and also to share it with everybody too, because it's very personal too.
Yeah.
So, All right, so I did something fun and I wanted to kind of work with you on this. So
Okay.
I dove into AI when I was doing research with you, and one of the things with AI, sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes it get things wrong. But I put together a quiz, and I think this would be fun to quiz
Okay.
yourself on how well you know you. But it's not really about you; it's really about the people around you. And some of them are obviously this is all about you. But so let's go ahead and do this. So the first question. So back in your college days, a friend from Fordham described you as a powerhouse. He said that once you decided to make films, you took it by force. Can you name this friend?
My God. Uh, oh no. Is this is this John?
Boom. Yeah.
Well, just as a heads up, John does go by they them pronouns, and they are one of my favorite people in this universe. They are like family to me. So they have championed me ever since we've met in college, and like it's John, it's Thomas, it's Anarlin. We've all been basically a family for the past 12 plus years, and it's been it's so wonderful to have a support system and a family with those people. That I it's who continually inspires me to just literally explore and just be curious about every facet of myself and the creative sides that I am sometimes scared of or nervous to explore, and they're the ones who constantly push me to do that.
That's amazing. And I
Mhm.
mean, you're also in one of the greatest cities in the world. I grew up outside of New York City and I'm now over in California and I miss that place because every time I go there, I feel this energy, this buzz
Mm.
about like the city. And I can't imagine having like that creative community that you have in there. It must be so refreshing and such a great
Mhm.
place to be.
Mhm. I mean, it's beyond just the creative community. I currently work at this company called Versus, and they're amazing. Like
Mm.
I know everybody keeps saying, oh, like, you must be just producing commercials for just like, just to be X, Y, and Z, but I'm learning so much. And I have the privilege of having like so many mentors, like Rob Myers, who is an amazing mentor, who's literally like, who was the guy who like found me and was like, hey, do you want to work for us as a producer?
Mm.
And who trusts me implicitly. And I appreciate that. There's Stephen Lembiazi, who from my first day here at this company, like helped like help me with like learning skills and how to be a good producer, how to protect my team, how to balance the needs of the client, how the needs of a budget and the needs of the team and the needs of the team and be able to protect all of those, finding that balance, all of those three kind of like facets. He taught me how to do that. Mark Fusco, same thing. Tom Calabraro, same thing. Catherine Henderson, one of she's brilliant at operations, and the way that she just identifies a problem and just kind of tackles it like and does not stop until it is completely solved, like she's so impressive. And I am so lucky to be surrounded by like all these people that are constantly championing me and like pushing for my growth and making sure that like I know that I'm supported. So again, like I'm in a very privileged position, not just like personally in my creative communities. And I would call this my creative community because we're all
Hmm.
filmmakers too. Like we're producers and EPs and senior producers and heads of production and director of creative operations and managing directors, but we're all film nerds. And when we get together, we're all just talking about films and stuff. And then it's really cool that we all like empower each other in both the professional sphere, in the commercial realm, and then in the personal sphere where we're doing side projects and talking about our side projects to each other and amplifying each other in
Mm.
that realm. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
That's something when I was reading up on you that there's such a stark contrast between like your journey and my journey. Like I'm an American, and I went to a school, a university that did not have a program that was embedded in like the filmmaking world. So I missed a lot of connections. And some of the professors were a little bit like you're talking about mentors. I did have a mentor in my documentary program, and all I needed was that little push, and it helped me kind of blow into this full force documentary that I took on that was way above what I should have been doing at that time. But I
Hmm.
look back at that and said, like, if I didn't have him in my life, there's no way I would have done that. And the reason why I say that is I when I was reading, I saw that you're like, when I came to New York City, I had nobody. I had no connections. I had to force myself into that and be open. And it's funny because I feel like where I'm at in my career, I've missed all those mentors, like professionally, because I went into corporate, I went into other places, and it's a different vibe, it's a different feeling. So I almost feel like an outcast in where I'm at. Also in Silicon Valley, where it's all tech. So it's
Hmm.
really kind of like, you do things to get things done, reacting rather than concepting.
Yeah.
But tell me more about, like, I loved what you said about where you're at. What, say the name of the game, of the agency?
It's a creative studio. It's a creative production studio called Versus, and they, like,
Versus.
there is like for like we're the thing that I love about us is that like we try not to be reactionary, right? Like we get
Mm,
something and we sit down and no idea, no, everyone is sitting at the table like trying to figure out how to move, what next steps look like, right? Like what is the solution to this thing that it's not even an issue. We see it as a challenge. We see it as it's beyond a challenge. We see it as opportunity. This is an
yeah.
opportunity for us to push ourselves. We don't want to be bored out of our minds doing the same thing time and time again. We want to be challenged with these opportunities. And that is what I love about the studio is that we sit here and we deal with one challenge after the next, and it's we don't even frame it like that. We frame it as these opportunities for us to learn more,
Mm,
learn a new vertical, learn a
mm,
new form of production, figure out how this type of project is going to cause holes in X, Y, and Z. And so, how do we anticipate? It's like we're thinking about things not just logistically and operationally, but we're thinking about these things creatively as well. You have producers and creative directors in lockstep trying to figure
mm,
out what next steps are and making sure that everybody in the room is heard because there's no one in the room with a title small enough to not be heard. Everybody has a voice at the table, and I love that because
yeah.
it creates so much, like it actually elevates everything. Giving people a voice and knowing that these are talented people that that and you're sitting in the room with talented people, and it's not just that. Like we're not just judging people based on that context, but we're judging people based on the fact that we're creating this community where everybody's voice matters and there's no idea too small. I'm a producer, but I consider myself a creative producer. I
Mhm.
my creative One of the creative directors, Luis Aguirre, who I work with all the time on the commercial works, trusts me implicitly. He will send me renders that the team sends him and be like, "Hey, can you check this out and let me know what you think?"
Mm.
And then him and I will have dialogues about the creative, about what we think should get done, or maybe if we could change this or round this out a little bit. I don't know, like maybe they did mention this on the call. Ooh, that's right. So there's like almost the elimination of ego here so that we can actually just focus on the work. And that is, I think, what makes working with people here so great is that like we're able to collaborate and actually have fun and
Yeah.
find solutions to things, to opportunities or challenges that another studio would just try to like scramble and be reactionary about, and will create all these fires. Meanwhile, we're out here being like, nah, we're gonna just calm shit down and then we'll figure out our steps as we go, because we usually do. There's a security in that, the security that we figured it out before and we'll figure it out again.
I love this. I would hire you just from your answer right there, because one of my favorite connections was when I've worked with production companies and I've worked with filmmakers, and it's always the filmmakers who come in and just bring a different attitude, a different
Mhm.
approach, And it's so much better because the production companies are, it's like a business. They come in,
Yeah.
we've done this before, trust us, we got it. And they do good work. I'm not trying to say they don't. It's more about trying to get, like you were saying, work together, come up with different ideas. And there's no kind of like ego at the door or you have to do it this way. So I love that. But I want to get back to the quiz just to get to know you a little bit better. And there's a lot of things I want to talk about with your producing too.
Mhm.
So we knew you grew up watching Milan and Zena, Warrior Princess, which is awesome as an escape. But when you reenacted these scenes at home, who was the family member that always played the monster you had to defeat?
It's funny you say that. I don't think any family member played the monster I had to defeat. It was always an ally. Whoever I had
Oh,
like a family member, the family, like my grandfather and I used to play pretend a lot, and it was a lot of Xena Warrior Princess, I'm not gonna lie. But my grandfather, my late grandfather, used to love playing pretend with me, and it was the sweetest thing. And he would sometimes, so we'd go and we'd get these like these breakfast kind of like Moroccan cronuts from the local cronut vendor very early in the
mm,
morning, and then we'd go to the garden, and then we'd steal my grandmother's skewers, and then we'd start to kind of like train sword fight, and then we would fight trees, and then I would do like axe throwing with my grandfather, which was dangerous for like an 8-year-old, but like my grandfather was like, he'll be fine.
that's
So it
amazing.
was a lot
That's so
of so
cool.
it was a lot of stuff like that. And then it was just kind of like a pattern of just all of those wonderful things just continued to happen with my grandfather, and being able to be in that space and being able to be encouraged by him to not feel like I had to hide that side of myself that just loved creating narrative and pretending to be Xena Warrior Princess. Like I thought that was great.
That's so cool.
Yeah. The
So,
cronuts are very important. The sphinge is very important.
so describe a cronut. Is it kind of like a beignet? That's what my imagination is going
Yeah,
towards.
it's like a beignet with like a croissant consistency, but like
Oh, geez.
it's like fried. So it literally is like a cronut. And so but these are like savory, and I know that American cronuts are a little bit sweet.
Sweet. Yeah.
And so we have our cronuts with, you could have it with like sweet or savory, and it changes
Mm.
the taste, but we also have it with Moroccan mint tea. And it was like my grandfather like mandated that in his home, that is how he wanted to start his day every day. And him and I would be the only ones awake at 6 a.m. And so he would put me on his shoulders, and then we'd go to the cronut guy, and then we'd go and we'd steal skewers from my grandmother's kitchen, and she'd get so mad at us because we'd return the skewers and they were super dirty with like mud and like tree residue, and she'd be like, what the hell were you guys doing?
That's awesome. Oh, this is great. Thank you. So here's another question for you. There's a professor at Fordham who praised your high energy and imagination, and he specifically said that you were rare because you were creative but also strategic and could get stuff done in the real world. Who was he?
Jim Genuine.
Very good.
He is one of the best people out there. I adore that man. I remember in his screenwriting classes, he was so encouraging. Man, he was one of the first mentors that I've had that like really just cared about you as an individual and your
Mm,
work, and really, really wanted his students to succeed. And he made sure that they did. And I loved the level of care he brought to the classroom, even to his writing. He's very, very impressive, and I have an immense amount of respect for him.
that's amazing. What a
Mhm,
what a great mentor.
mhm.
Um, so another question. We know you transfer. I don't know. Again, like I said, AI. So I'm just guessing. But it says we know you transfer from Fordham Rose Hill campus to Lincoln Center to
Mhm.
be closer to the film action. but
Mhm.
there was a very specific family reason you wanted to be at the campus. What was it?
There was a specific what reason?
A family reason.
Oh, yes. My sister lived near campus. And so we were both living in yeah, we were both living we both lived in the apartment that we had, and so it was just easier to commute to Fordham Lincoln Center than it was to Rose Hill. And I was like, yes. And it was nice. I got to spend more time with her. The
Yeah.
commute was like about an hour, and so that
Oh,
hour that I had to commute back and forth, which is 2 hours a day, I got to spend more time with her, which was lovely. I love spending time with my sister. She was also my biggest champion too. Like I remember in high school, she was very much like, Suki, you're a filmmaker. Like what do you need? I will back you up. And she to this day champions me like crazy, and I love her. She is my best friend.
is she the older or younger sister?
Older, 7 years older.
Wow. And did
Yeah.
she move to New York first?
Mhm. She moved to New York first and I believe spent 11 to 12 years here and then left to go back home to Morocco, and I stayed. And she, again, consistently champions me. She's a brilliant architect and an amazing event planner, and like does everything. Like she if she ever gets an idea, she can do it. I she's a doer. She's so impressive.
That's so cool. Having someone in your life like that is so important.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
From
So
like
you
my
once
childhood too, because she used to like we used to read books together, like Dan Brown. We used to crack that open, and we literally used to, before like bed, it was her and I was like old, like I would be 16 and she'd like be visiting or something like that from like college, and then we'd both just be chilling in bed as she'd be reading like Angels and Demons, and then she would read a passage and I would read a passage, or like we would love watching movies together. We'd have movie nights together and I'd be like, "Oh my God." And then she'd be like, "You can do this. You can do this." And so I love
now
that
were you
she's
doing things like that back then? Were
yeah,
you
a little
shooting on
bit. I mean, yeah, I was doing like funny sketch like films using like photo booth and my phone, but like and like even like some of like my school assignments, she was always so impressed. She was like, "Suki, come on, like this is basically what you did." And it was really funny. She's always championed me, and it's really really nice to have someone like that in your life that is constantly in support of you, which is so lovely.
incredible. Um, so this is a fill in the blank question. So this might
Mhm.
be but so you once gave candid advice to other immigrants trying to break into the industry. You said you have to be blank yourself into believing that you will get there come hell or high water. What was the word?
You have to be blank yourself.
You have to blank yourself into believing that you will get there
Oh,
come hell or high
you
water.
have to trick yourself into believing.
You said they say delude, but yes, exactly.
You do have to delude yourself a little bit. I mean trick, delude pretty much. Yeah, like
Yeah, same thing.
the fake it till you make it mentality. Oh my God. I think one of the things that as immigrants we have to remember is that we have insane imposter syndrome. In any room that we walk into, we feel like we don't belong. We have to remember, and it's you're not wrong. There are people in that room that are going to believe that you don't belong in that room. The point is not to show them that. The point is
Yeah.
to just it's not even about proving to them, it's about proving to yourself.
Hmm.
You earned being in this room. And okay, you didn't earn being in this room. Okay, cool. Neither did half of the people in this room, but here we are. Why am I being the target of this weird friggin', you know what I mean? So it's like remove this chip off your shoulder and just walk into these rooms confidently, and always one of the biggest things I always say is the smartest person in the room isn't the one with the most knowledge or the one with the most wisdom, it's the one with the most curiosity. That is the
Hmm.
smartest person in the room. If you are in that room and you are candid about the fact that you don't know X, Y, or Z, and you are asking the questions and being like, "Can you walk me through this?" And you're confidently asking these questions, you are not only you are not only arming yourself for success, but you are arming everybody in that room for success with you. And
Hmm.
it reminds you of that quote, right? Of like a good man draws a circle about around himself, but a greater man draws a circle around himself and his community. That is what you do. That is why I say the smartest person isn't the one with the most wisdom, experience, or knowledge. It's the one that is most curious. The one in that room asking the questions to the right people and not afraid to do so. Because at the end of the day, if you're not asking the questions, if you're not poking the holes, if you're not in the process of like you're processing information that's coming at you and you're observing and you're absorbing, and then you're like, I wonder about X and I wonder about Y. And I'm not sure they mentioned X, but I'm not sure what that is. Let me write these questions down and then ask them when the time comes. And then when you do that, you're immediately the smartest person in the room because everybody else and their mother sometimes in that room are too afraid to ask the questions because people are, oh, I'm gonna look stupid. No,
Yeah.
what's going to make you look stupid is not knowing these things and then executing on shit and then screwing everything up when you don't have the information to execute or create or do anything. You can't move forward without all the information.
I love what you just said about, imposter syndrome, and I'm going through something right now with it, even though it's been with me for forever. But and I do have to focus and pull myself back in because I do have people in my life that I respect that look at me kind of like your sister looks at you, and it's like, Andy, you have done this, you can do this, and it's a
Mhm.
really hard place. And when I say where I'm at right now is because November I was laid off, so
Mhm.
I've been looking for other opportunities. And, when you get passed by, you're like, but I've done this, this, and this. And
Mhm.
then that starts creeping in and really kind of affecting you. Again, like I said, I'm very lucky that I do have a community, kind of like what you were saying, that
Mhm.
surrounds you. So let's keep moving on to the next one.
Mhm.
So your short film Fix was a festival success and
Mhm.
won 7 awards. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But at the New York International Film Awards, what specific title did you personally take home? It's- that's just
But
not fair.
oh, there's so many. I don't mean that to sound like, oh, I have so many. I just there's that's a long time ago.
There's a lot of titles too.
Yeah. What was I? AD? No. Production?
You had it. You producer,
Producer?
best producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I won it for producing. Damn.
Again, it might be a hallucination. You like you said, how many hands, like how many roles did you do in these short films?
Well, that's the game in indie filmmaking, right? You have your hand in
Yeah.
everything. You're wearing
Yeah.
multiple hats. That's why if I'm making an indie film, I'm making it with people that like really believe in the film because it's like
Mm,
indie film, you have very, very low budgets and it's very hard to put that together. So you do have to put on a lot of hats and you have to figure out a lot of logistics and you have to figure out how to make the budget work and stretch and pay people accordingly and make sure that your teams are happy and make sure that like the creative is being executed, but like finding compromises in the creative to be able to make the budget work. But also elevating the creative with the limited budget. So like how do
mm,
we make this work in a smart way? Like how do we you know, like I want this. These are no-brainers. Great. Okay. We only have this as budget. So how do we make this work in a smart way? How do we use connections? How do we do this? How do we shoot this in a way that makes it seem X, Y, and Z because X is cheaper, that kind of stuff.
mm,
So
mm-hmm.
like it's these creative problem solving solutions. And I enjoyed shooting Fix because it was one of those things where it was one creative solution after the next, after the next, after the next. And you're like, there were so many films where I was like, hair and makeup, and then AD, and then producer, and then coordinator, stand-in, like actor, and you're just like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna play all of it because I really believe in the film and I want this shit to work.
Yeah.
On my film Lapse, I who is by the amazing Katie Colwell, written and directed by her and DP'd. She's a force to be reckoned with. But and so is her partner Rituja Savant, wonderful filmmaker as well. Amazing, like with her gaffing work, her lighting work is like insane. She's brilliant, and I'm so excited to kind of like see where both of them end up because I can assure you that they're both gonna kill it in this industry. But I worked on them with Laps, and Katie at some point, I was Katie's AD, and there was one scene where she just stepped in and she just looked at me and she was like, "You want to direct the scene?" And I just looked at her and she was like, I was like, "Wow, okay." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm kind of like running out of ideas, and I kind of want to really, really focus on the next scene." She was like, "Do you mind stepping in?" And I was like, "Not at all." And
Oh,
so it's that kind
nice.
of collaborative work where I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll step in and I'll do this thing." And then she like there's that again, that mutual trust, that mutual collaboration.
Yeah.
We're not out here trying to like figure out who's gonna get what title. We're out of here trying to create.
Yeah.
That's the focus. It's that ego death. And it's so important for work.
And that's such a healthy workplace slash, crew to have is
Mhm.
like you're on set, you're doing all these things together, you feel it, you understand what's going on. So when she comes to you, you're like, oh yeah, I could do this. And it's
Yeah.
such a great opportunity to
Mhm.
step in and to take on that role. That's so cool.
Mhm. It's
So
I think in the indie film game it's important sometimes to be a Jane of all trades. It's not like super important, but like if you are, you save a lot.
well, something you said, like you talked about that woman who is an exceptional lighter, and for me, if you understand lighting and you're a DP, that's like very special. Not just
Oh, yeah.
understanding, but can be creative and beautiful in that world.
Their partnership, like Rue works a lot with Katie Colwell, and their partnership is like it's phenomenal. They are a great team. Like
Mm,
even I mean Rue also produces now and she's brilliant. And so it's like again, people who put the work first, who understand the work, who respect the hell out of the creative, who just want to tell the story, they get really good at their jobs. And it's not
yeah.
because they're not treating it as like this thing that they just go through the motions. They're treating these jobs as, and they come in with so much curiosity. They ask the
Mm,
questions, they're not afraid. They're not
hmm.
afraid to be told, "Oh, well then aren't you like a producer?" It's That's not the point. The point
Right.
is, I am a producer, but I want to learn more. I am a producer, but I want to be able to be mindful of X. I am a producer, but I have limited knowledge of X and I want to learn. It's an understanding that these creative endeavors are a constant trajectory of learning. There is no end to learning in
Yeah.
this business.
Yeah. You're right.
In storytelling and creation, there is no end. You are constantly learning and absorbing. The moment you feel like you've learned enough is when I personally believe you should retire.
Yeah. Well,
Because
that's
that
interesting because your background is you do have CG as well as 2D
Mhm.
animation. So how has that helped you as a producer? Obviously, that's going to help you with projects, understanding how to get that going. But how has that boosted you as a producer?
Learning, like adding these skills to my arsenal, being able to produce a CG 3D job and being able to produce a 2D animation job, you're just adding things to your arsenal.
Yeah.
You're on an indie film set and you know the costs of what it would cost if just in case you needed like VFX involved and stuff, like ballpark. You couldn't get the shot, so you have to recreate it in post. Okay. Well, that's going
Mm.
to put us back about ballpark this amount. So we just have to create a plan to be able to either get that money or save money on the current shoot to be able to do that. Or even weigh your options. Is it more expensive to shoot this or is it more or should we just do it in post?
So how do you feel about using AI now that you can't get those shots? Like, how do you feel about their?
The AI question I think is like to be honest with you, I think it's case by case basis. AI is not the
Sure.
solution for everything. And
Hmm.
AI, personally, in my opinion, like, yes, can give you something similar to what you need, but like, you spend the same amount of money generating something in AI and then fixing it in post than you do if you just make it in post. So I would rather make it in post bespoke and sometimes more, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, the VF, like, you doing something in post is actually cheaper than generating something in AI and then having to fix it in post, because you're doing the process twice.
Right. Are you seeing a lot of that as a producer at your agency?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
There, I mean, sometimes AI works wonderfully and you're like, "Oh, this
course.
is really cool. Like, this is awesome." But I think people tend to forget that AI is a tool and you still have to pay for the labor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because
You still
I've messed with AI, and it's so
Mhm.
frustrating when you put something in and it's giving you 15 different,
Yeah.
results, and you're like, that's not what I'm asking.
Mhm. You still have to pay for the labor. AI is, listen, I'm not saying that AI isn't the thing that people should kind of like be, oh, like, this is scary or whatever. Yeah, it's scary. It can do something really, really quickly and damn close to what it is that you want.
Yeah.
But we tend to work in industries with a lot of rules and regulations. So is it ready for now? Who knows? But people still need to understand that just because something is generated in AI doesn't mean it's going to make it cheaper.
You're absolutely right about that. A few more things I just want to touch base on. So, as a producer, what
Mm,
are some of the new challenges that you're coming in? Because everything is changing in the marketplace as
mm,
far as storytelling, but also, how people are getting their content. Now we're going through like the dummy scroll, or the
mhm,
doom scroll, not dummy scroll. And I find a lot of companies that are asking me to create, short videos of their product to put in there. And I try to help them go understand that, sure, we could do that, but you also realize that people are doom scrolling, so it's going to be really quick. So
mhm,
for me, it's like you have to understand that this is kind of like, a subconscious thing. You put it in their brain by scrolling through, it's not going to give you a sale. So don't expect high numbers on that end. But what are some of the things that you're seeing on your end that is different, and how kind of like clients are kind of transitioning into a different, way of telling their story?
mhm. So deliverables are getting shorter
Mm,
in duration, which speaks to the whole, like, doom scrolling thing, right? People's attention spans are, like, significantly lower nowadays, right? Budgets are getting smaller, timelines are getting
mm,
tighter. And not that we can't make that work. We always make it work. But it is something interesting to behold, because I do think that everybody thinks with all this new tech and with the progression of everything that everything is going to get cheaper and everything can get done faster. But I do think that, like, again, it's like sometimes there are longer review periods than there are working days. And you're like, why is it that there are longer review periods than there are working days? And so that is definitely a phenomenon that I've been picking up on in like the recent year, where I'm like, oh wow, okay. Budget's getting smaller, the demands are getting higher. Like, for instance, like, small budget, but we want a bespoke soundtrack to this. But also we want um 6 different deliverables in all aspect ratios for, like, a very limited budget. And you kind of want to be like, okay, here's what we can do for the budget that you're recommending.
yeah.
Um, we can't do that though. Like, and it's like, well, and then they'll come back sometimes and they'll say, well, this person did this and this person did this. And I think people have to also realize that if you're going to come to us, you're not just going to get a properly executed project. You're going to get like, quality
Yeah.
and great service, and, like, we like, especially, there's like a lot of, like, sometimes like these smaller inexperienced companies will come to us and they'll ask us for like help and stuff. And we're always amenable to that. Like we want people to succeed and we want to create new relationships. And it's always opportunities for us. Like I said, like we operate from a space where everything is an opportunity. And sometimes when we talk to these clients, they kind of like compare us to these like other vendors. And I'm like, totally. But you're not going to get the caliber of work that we can promise you and guarantee as the other places.
Yeah.
So that's what you're paying for. And that is what you want based on the brief that you're providing us. If you want to go with another vendor, like, please, like, we can't make that number work. But, and we want you to succeed. But if you want quality and you want execution and you want consistency and you want like a partner in everything that you want to create, then you come to us because we are that.
One of the things I learned in negotiation when clients do come to you and they're like, that's too expensive, it's when you start taking things away of what they're asking for. So for instance,
Yep.
this is just an example. We want a 3 camera set, shot of this, this, and this. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, this is the price. It's too much. All right, let's make it a 2 camera shot. Well, we want 3. Well, that's the price for 3. But for what you're asking, we could do it for 2.
Mhm.
And if they don't, then it's just like there are plenty of people out there that could do that. But that's
That's exactly what we do too. We're like,
yeah,
"Hey, sorry, we can't make this budget work, but here's what we can make for the budget that you've proposed.
yes,
Here's what we can do for the budget that you proposed." And so then they like will come back to us and it's like a back and forth. And again, we love a dialogue. We love a
yeah.
discussion. We want to make this
Let's
work.
make it work. Yep.
Yeah, we'll never turn you away, like ever.
Yeah.
We will always try and make it work, but there's we got to pay the bills too, you know? So it's like one of those things where it's like if a budget is going to be like if we're going to spend out of pocket on our end to accommodate your budget, I I mean, that's not how business works.
So one other thing, I wanted to touch base on your documentaries because that's my background too, are
Mhm.
documentaries, and so one of the questions that it proposed was one of your most meaningful projects is a documentary, Children of Sin, and you featured an icon of Moroccan feminism who sadly passed away recently. Who
Mm.
was this legendary woman,
Aisha Shna.
and
She's
why was she so important for the
So
documentary?
she started out as a nurse, and then she
Mhm.
started a nonprofit that protected unwed single mothers in Morocco,
Wow.
because they just don't have the unwed single mothers and their children just don't have enough
Mm.
infrastructure in Morocco. And despite the fact that she had a whole fatwa against her, like she still continued the work. She was not scared, and she had such like settled purpose. She knew exactly what her goal was, and her goal was to protect this part, this community, because they were let down institutionally. And it's not that she was an unwed mother. She wasn't, but she was in the business long enough to hear all their stories, and she said, I don't like I can't like sit idly by and do nothing. And so like when I went to her home, I have these all this exclusive footage of her interviewing her, showing me pictures of her with presidents of heads of state, President of the United States, Hillary Clinton, all these like huge like people because she won award after award and funneled that money straight back into her NGO and
Wow.
just kept trying to create an infrastructure. She very much said, if the world that we live in won't create an infrastructure for these women and for women in general, then I will. And she did.
So, as a producer, how did you come across that? I mean, you're from Morocco, so you probably knew her already. You like knew of her, but getting the resources, putting together a documentary. Take me through that process real quick.
I read an article about
Mm.
a case of an unwed mother whose case got thrown out of court because the DNA test got thrown out of the case, and then she had to return alimony back to to the man who had impregnated her, because the DNA got thrown out.
Mm.
And the DNA test was thrown out of the, like it was like a situation where like they were like, we don't count the DNA test as proof anymore, which means that the adjudication is going to be reversed. So it's no longer the case where she won. They threw the case out of court, and so she had to return the money back to the man who paid her alimony. And she had commented on that, and she was like, "What?" And I then literally just I went to her foundation. I met up with her and I said, "Would you be like," I talked to her, I had a conversation with her. And then I had a conversation with her social workers. And I was like, okay, everybody. And I had a conversation with the women as well. I hung out with them every day for about 2 months. And eh, during the duration of me shooting the film was the 2 months that I hung out with them. And I was spending so much time with them. And I was spending so much time with her that, like, the way that that got to be was I literally walked into the NGO and I asked for her.
Wow.
This is what I mean by, like, sometimes it really is that easy. Like, just walk into the freaking place. Like, get there. Go there. Like, it's not deluding yourself at all.
Mm.
Like, I think that I shouldn't have used that word even. I think it's not about deluding yourself. I think the delusion is that you're setting these barriers in front of you that don't even exist. And sometimes it's really is just about putting one foot in front of the other to get to the thing that you want to get to. And it's doing it scared, and it's doing it
Mm.
curious, and it's being able to just like reach for the thing that you are scared for reaching for, because sometimes the limitations are the limitations that you set for yourself, and no one else is setting this is why I keep saying, like, you have significantly more agency than you think you do. And
Mm.
it's this inability for people to see that, which I personally believe is the reason why a lot of people can't take accountability for their actions in today's world. It's because they can't see that they have that agency. They can't see that their actions have consequences, and they can't see that sometimes their own misery is built by themselves. They build the
Wow.
sandcastles of misery, not anyone else.
Yeah, and I think how you were attracted to that documentary was the same thing when I was in college. Like it was something that was really disturbed me, and I went into it saying I need to tell this story. This is bothersome. My thing was about the 1979 anti-Klan rally in Greensboro, North Carolina, where 5 people were shot and killed in broad daylight. Then
Mm-hmm.
all the Klansmen were found not guilty, state, federal, and so that kind of got me in. And coming from the North, I was going like, I'm going to show the South what they should be doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what the passion was for me. Then later in my career, a friend of mine got ALS, and I said like, this needs to go out. And he wanted to share his story with the world. So we did 36 episodes of him, surviving and having this amazing community to tell his story. So those are things that when I see, I just react and I go do it. And like you're saying, curious, but also making things happen. Just go out there, do it, and you'll figure things out as you go along. And you
Yes,
meet people along the way too that want to help and that will reach out, that will extend. And now with the internet, if you're doing cool things and helping people, more and more people are going to get on your back to help you out with it.
correct.
But so one last thing is what's next for you?
It's a great question. Um, make more films, tell more
Mm,
stories, and build more community.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so where can people find all your stuff, your films? Where can they follow you?
Mhm.
Let us know.
Yeah, you can check me out. You can check out my website at www.saelhassani.com, and then you can follow me on Instagram at saelhassani.
And I will share the links in the description so that if anybody's watching this or listening to it, you can find it down there too. So thank you, Soukaina. I really appreciate everything that you
Of
brought
course.
today. And your story is fascinating. And I hope we can, if you ever want to reach out, collaborate, if you need something from California, please feel free. I love brainstorming. And like you were saying, having all those people in the room that just have no ego, like to talk about creative, that's where I'm at in life right now. So
I love
would
that.
love to continue.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Andy. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And good luck with everything moving forward. I can't wait to see what's next. Thank you, Soukaina, for coming on Talent Freaks. That was a cool conversation. I learned so much about you today, and this exceeded every expectation. I feel connected deeply with how you think as a producer while valuing your intellectual process. A special thanks to your friend Betsy for connecting us via email. So be sure to check out Soukaina Alaoui El Hassani's portfolio at her website and follow her on Instagram, where her latest updates and creative fire live. All the links and info will be in the description for easy access. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell, and share it with your friends to help more creative minds discover these stories. Your support truly makes a difference. In the previous podcast, I asked if we could make 5,000 subscribers. Well, we're over 6,000 now, and I am incredibly grateful. Thank you, everyone, for your support. It really means a lot. And if you want to know more of my work, visit talentfreaks.com, where you can explore some of my video work, as well as my current passion for photography. If you have ideas or guests that you'd like to see on the show, don't hesitate to reach out. I love bringing fresh perspectives to the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.